Before the pants-soiling incidents, before the harassment accusations, before literally sneaking out the back door of his own house to evade the sheriffs, Steven Seagal was untouchable. This superstar had a blank check. Hollywood handed him everything on a silver platter, and he destroyed it, piece by piece, lie by lie. And believe me, his fall is far worse than you imagine, and far worse than what you've been told. Steven Seagal didn't fight for his career. He came in through the back door, with shortcuts and privileges that real actors with genuine martial arts experience could only dream of. His agent was Michael Ovitz, one of the 5 most powerful men in Hollywood. That tells you everything. While Van Damme was doing 300 auditions and sleeping in his car, Seagal was signing with Warner Brothers without having acted a single day in his life. He arrived selling mystical Aikido, the ponytail, the deep voice, that "I know secrets that would kill you" stare. He presented himself as a CIA instructor, the first Westerner to open a dojo in Japan, half monk, half assassin, among many other exaggerations. With a well-sold lie and the right connections, he started with Above the Law, pulling $25 million at the box office on a $10 million budget. For an unknown, it was pure gold. And that wasn't all. Hollywood bet big. And for a moment, it worked. But the seeds of his destruction were already planted. Because what starts wrong ends worse. With Under Siege, $156 million at the box office, award nominations, and critical respect, Seagal was officially approaching the level of Stallone, Schwarzenegger, and Van Damme. Unlimited budgets, massive marketing, the world at his feet. True martial artists who command the screen, like Tony Jaa, Scott Adkins, and Michael Jai White, never had those opportunities. And figures like Jackie Chan and Sammo Hung had to give everything they had to earn every single one of theirs. It's a shame. Seagal had everything. And right at that moment, when others would have killed to be there, he decided the rules didn't apply to him. And that's when the self-destruction begins, when the monster comes into the light. Because what was happening behind the scenes was far darker than anyone imagined. On set, Seagal was a tyrant. His characters could never lose, not a single fight. He rewrote entire scripts to remove any vulnerability. He would arrive 4, 5, even 6 hours late, meditating, costing productions more than $500,000. He would accidentally hit stuntmen, young guys who needed the job, subjected to a bully. He was impossible to direct. Directors actively asked not to work with him, but that was just the ego, the surface. What lay beneath the surface was darker and more unthinkable. Journalists started digging. CIA agent? A total lie. 0 records, 0 confirmation. First Westerner to open a dojo in Japan? Massive exaggeration. Respected Aikido master? Real masters started speaking out. And they didn't say anything nice. The house of cards was shaking, but Hollywood kept paying him millions because they still didn't know the worst. And the worst was happening in hotel rooms, private auditions, and closed sets. Seagal, bragging as always, tells Gene LeBell, a 58-year-old judo legend, "No one can choke me out." LeBell smiles. "Wanna bet?" Seagal accepts. Huge mistake. LeBell puts him in a rear choke. Seagal struggles, fights back, and within seconds, he passes out. And here's the part that turned it into a Hollywood urban legend. He soiled himself. John Leguizamo confirmed it. Multiple crew members witnessed it. Gene LeBell had to carry Seagal, unconscious and dirty, back to his trailer. The invincible warrior had been knocked out by a 58-year-old man and soiled his pants like a terrified child. The story spread through Hollywood like wildfire. And every time Seagal talked about being lethal, someone remembered that day. If technology had been just a bit more advanced back then, like it is today, those photos would still be circulating, and his tough guy reputation would have collapsed much faster. It's a shame. But in the mid-1990s, something changed. Directors started saying no to projects with Seagal. Producers stopped returning calls. There was no official memo, but the message was clear. Too much trouble, too little value. The Glimmer Man, Fire Down Below, The Patriot, consecutive failures. And in 1998, the worst happened. His first direct-to-video film. Not as a strategy, but because no one else wanted him. The fall had begun. Hollywood was pushing him out, but they still didn't know the worst. And the worst was happening in hotel rooms, private auditions, and closed sets. But what Hollywood still didn't understand was that Seagal wasn't just a headache. He was a predator, and the victims were about to speak. Jenny McCarthy, audition for Under Siege 2. Seagal tells her she needs to undress. She asks if there is a nude scene. No, but I need to see your body. She left, horrified. Kaden Nguyen, a 23-year-old former assistant, files a lawsuit with very serious allegations. In the legal document, she states that her role went far beyond professional duties and describes an environment of abuse of power and control. She also mentions the presence of women from Eastern Europe living under troubling conditions at a residence in New Orleans. The case was settled out of court, although parts of the lawsuit became public. Regina Simons. In the context of the Me Too movement, Regina Simons states that in 1993, when she was 18 years old, she was a victim of abuse after being summoned to a private audition at Seagal's home. She says she remained silent for more than 2 decades out of fear, and because of the position of power he held at the time. Porcia de Rossi, audition harassment. Juliana Margulies, audition harassment. These are not internet rumors. These are well-known actresses with names and faces on national television describing a consistent pattern of abuse. And Hollywood knew. Young actresses were warned in whispers. But as long as he was making money, everyone looked the other way. You thought this was already the worst he could be. But the decay was only beginning. Rejected by Hollywood, Seagal tried to reinvent himself, and every attempt was more pathetic than the last. 2005, reggae singer, an overweight white action actor singing reggae with a fake Jamaican accent. Fake dreadlocks, moving as if he were sedated. Completely ridiculous. 2009, Steven Seagal. Lawman, a reality show where Seagal, an honorary sheriff, patrols the streets fighting real crime, canceled due to complaints of real police brutality captured on camera. Pathetic. 2011, the reincarnated Lama. He declares himself the reincarnation of a Tibetan Buddhist Lama. Real Buddhist masters publicly reject him, but he continues giving spiritual teachings while facing sexual lawsuits. This is where he really screwed up. Each reinvention attempt was more desperate, more meme-worthy than respectable. But if you think Seagal hit rock bottom at this stage, don't underestimate him. This is Seagal, remember? He can always go even lower. The ultimate low, the actor who no longer acts. Since 1998, Steven Seagal has made more than 30 direct-to-video movies. That's not an exaggeration. 30. Filmed in Bulgaria, Romania, Serbia, with budgets that barely reach $5 million. Sold in gas stations, discount stores, and buried in the darkest corners of the market. But here's the real fraud, the final insult to anyone who pays to watch these movies. Seagal no longer moves. In his recent films, Seagal is seated in 80 to 90% of the scenes. This is not a joke. Behind desks, sitting in cars, on bar stools, on couches. Literally any excuse to keep him motionless. Why? 2 possible reasons. 1, he physically can't. 2, he doesn't want to. Multiple crew members have confirmed that Seagal simply refuses to exert himself. I don't feel good today. My back. The energy isn't right. But movies still need action, right? So they use doubles. And here's the insulting part. They don't even try to hide it. Watch any Seagal movie from the last 15 years. Abrupt cuts in the middle of fights. Obviously, different wigs. The double has darker hair, lighter hair, different texture. Doesn't matter. Next scene. Impossible camera angles. You never see the full face of the warrior in action. Always from behind, from far away, or buried in shadows. But wait, it gets worse. In several of his European films from the last decade, Seagal didn't even fully record his own dialogue. Absolution, end of a gun, General Commander. In all of them, other actors recorded parts of Seagal's dialogue because he simply didn't show up to the dubbing studio. The lead actor without the lead actor's voice. So how did he keep getting these jobs? Contracts. Producers in Eastern Europe need names to sell DVDs and streaming rights. The name Steven Seagal still sold in Russia, Serbia, and parts of Latin America. So they made contracts where Seagal only had to be physically on set for 5 to 10 days. The rest was handled by stunt doubles, second units, and cheap CGI. Seagal gets paid $250,000 to $500,000 to put his name on the poster and sit in scenes for a week, while exhausted producers fill in the rest however they can, because they have families to feed. This is industrial-level fraud, and everyone knows it, but the name still generates just enough money to make it worth it. And then there's the internet, the glorious, brutal internet. Steven Seagal running compilation. This video has millions of views. It shows Seagal running in different movies, and it's not running, it's something else. His arms move in ways that defy human anatomy, like he's rowing through air. His legs seem disconnected from his torso. Physics simply does not apply. The internet described it perfectly, running like someone is controlling each limb with separate controllers in a glitched video game. It's so absurd, so impossible, that it became an instant meme. Parodies, remixes, even biomechanical analysts asking how a human body can possibly move like that. But if the movies are a fraud, at least his martial arts skills are real, right? Not even close. Videos of Seagal teaching Aikido at seminars went viral, not because they were impressive, but because they were ridiculous. In these demonstrations, his students throw themselves to the ground before he even touches them. When he performs techniques, they're clumsy, slow, and lack real structure. He moves like he's underwater. He clearly lacks the flexibility and balance of a legitimate practitioner. MMA legend Anderson Silva once invited Seagal to train. The MMA community exploded in mockery when Seagal suggested he had taught Silva the front kick that knocked out Vitor Belfort. Professional fighters couldn't believe the audacity. Joe Rogan, himself a black belt in Taekwondo and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, has dedicated multiple podcast segments to dismantling Seagal's techniques, with videos, with technical breakdowns, completely tearing them apart. And then comes the news that froze everyone in 2016. Vladimir Putin personally grants Russian citizenship to Seagal. 2018, he hugs Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela while the country collapses into famine. Even though we already know what happened a few days ago and how Venezuela is still celebrating this great progress. 2023, he visits war zones in Ukraine, promoting Kremlin narratives while Russia bombs hospitals and schools. He is appointed a special representative of the Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. He was no longer a canceled actor. He was a national security problem, a US citizen actively working for authoritarian regimes that attack his own country. The irony is brutal. The man who became a millionaire playing American heroes ended up betraying everything those characters represented. And yet, there's something so low that it's beneath even him. In 2020, the SEC fined Steven Seagal $314,000 for illegally promoting the cryptocurrency Bitcoin Gen without disclosing that he had been paid $250,000 in cash plus $750,000 in tokens. Seagal flooded his social media, calling it the future, a solid investment, a technological revolution. Thousands of fans invested real money. The coin collapsed, and they lost everything. He had already cashed his check. Investor testimonies. I invested $5,000 because Seagal endorsed it. I lost everything. That money was for my children's education. My father invested $10,000. He was a fan since the 90s. He died before the collapse. Real people, real families, robbed by someone they trusted. Seagal never apologized, never showed remorse. He vaguely claimed, I was a victim too. The SEC disagreed. And the final insult. On multiple verified occasions, sheriff's deputies attempted to serve Seagal with legal papers, and he literally ran out the back door. A man in his 60s, sprinting through his yard, jumping fences, hiding like a common criminal to avoid being served. The invincible warrior who defeated villains on screen couldn't face a sheriff holding documents. And while scamming fans and fleeing the law, Seagal finally found his true calling, Steven Seagal had absolutely everything, and he destroyed it all by being exactly who he was. Fame can build a legend, but only character sustains it. When everything is built on lies, collapse isn't a possibility. It's a scheduled date. Steven Seagal didn't fall because of a lack of talent. He fell because he was never who he claimed to be, and what starts badly ends worse. Reality always collects its debt, sooner or later. And this is not all. More than 5 fighters have been documented publicly challenging Seagal. Guess how many fights he accepted? Exactly 0. If you want to see all the details of these incidents and how he avoided direct confrontations with real legends like Michael Jai White, Van Damme, Chuck Norris, among others, don't miss this video for anything in the world. You already know. Share, hit like, and subscribe to the channel. See you in that video.